Hello. I want to start out by saying this teaching, this recording is for you if you know that you have a higher calling, you know deep inside that you're meant for more, and either you're ignoring it, you're pushing it away out of fear or resistance, or who am I to want that? Or you really don't know where to start. So if that is you, one of those two things, then this is going to really address that for you. And if you're anything like me, that calling kept getting louder and louder and louder until I absolutely couldn't ignore it anymore. And sometimes that becomes extremely painful. And I don't want that for you. So if it's you, you know there's something like urging you forward, then this is the time. This is the time to address it. Don't let it get so loud that it's painful and your life has to entirely fall apart before you're willing to do anything. Hello, I am Karen Seltz. I am so delighted to be here with you. I am a sacred purpose embodiment coach, and I've had quite the journey. I started out in sales in my adult life, and then I became a coach after my mom passed away. She left me some money and I dove into this coaching world. But even though I called myself a coach, I didn't have any clients for many years. I was just doing all the things, keeping myself very busy, looking like I was successful on the outside, but I didn't have any clients. So maybe you can relate to that too. So it wasn't until maybe 5 years ago when I really took myself on and said, what does it mean to be a business owner? What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? Well, I get to have clients. I get to be making some money, or else I'm not really in business. So that's also one of the things that I support my clients with is finding like what it is you're here for and then developing a plan. I help them release all the blocks, resolve past trauma, because a lot of times the things that are keeping you stuck, you don't even know what they are. So we go in and we resolve all that trauma, clear the blocks so that you have a clean slate. And then the fears that come up are more manageable. They're more like bite size. And you're like, well, okay, I could take one step in that direction. And I have had a live television show for a couple of years, has helped me really be on purpose because I love sharing, I love teaching. And one of the things that is part of my journey is I wrote on a little note card probably 25 years ago. I am an inspirational public speaker, inspiring people to blah, blah. I don't remember what it said. But 20 years later, I found that card. And up until that time, I think I had spoken one time, just once. And when I found that, that was that major gut punch. Like I've known my entire life, at least my adult life, what I was here for. But I kept being in this, well, what would I speak about? I don't know. Who would want to listen to me? And all these dimming down conversations that were going on in my head that seemed so logical at the time. So, what I did, I kept getting more and more training, more certifications, more degrees. My gosh, I have so many freaking letters after my name. It's ridiculous. And I use very few of them. But I realized that I kept accruing all this training, all this knowledge, so that I would finally know enough to be taken seriously because I was always trying to prove myself. And when I stopped, when I gave that crap up and I'm like, I am enough, my gosh, I've learned a ton in my life. I have so much wisdom, so much experience that I can share with people right now. That is when I started to attract actually paying clients. Wow, what a concept. And that's one of the things that I support people with. So if you can relate to that, I call it the seek and not find tactic of the ego, where it's like, oh, wait, I need one more degree over here. Oh, I better take this program because this person knows more than I do. So if you've ever fallen into that, it is the time to stop seeking and start finding. So what I'm going to share with you today is really three simple things. One is how to tune into your intuition and your heart and know like what it is you are here to do in this lifetime and know that it can change. Right now, I know that I am here on this planet to support women in embodying their sacred purpose, not just knowing it, not talking about it, but actually making money doing it, like being out there full on fire. And I know that's what I'm here for. There's no question. Do I know that that's what I'll be doing 5 years from now? No. Do I need to know? Nope. And neither do you, because that's one of the ways the ego tricks us into staying stuck, into staying safe and small. And we don't want that for you. It is time to like break out and be seen and shine your light, because there are so many people that you could support right now with what you know, with who you are, that are suffering. They're waiting for you. So it is time to become conscious, which is the next step. The second thing that I'm going to teach you is, what are the things that are holding you back? And what is it costing you? What is it costing you? Not only like money, but what is it costing you in your mental health, in your physical health, not stepping into your purpose now? Maybe it's hurting your relationships. Most likely it is, because, well, I'm just speaking for myself. So when I was in that place where I kind of knew what I was supposed to be doing, but I was so afraid, and I was in this confusion racket. Like, I don't know where to start. And I just had no confidence that anybody would ever want to hire me back then. And I would take it out on people. When I saw people doing what I wanted to be doing or what I was meant to be doing, I'd be like, they're not as good as I am, or whatever. I just made up all these things, and I was resentful and frustrated and a little angry. And I think I took it out on people around me. So if you can relate to that, yeah, you're human. Welcome. Welcome to the human journey. It's all good. It's all perfect. And the third thing that I'm going to share with you, I personally learn best when I go through experiences. And all of this is going to be experiential. Now, because you're watching a recording, you can do it at your own pace. You can stop, you can pause it and do the exercises. But the third thing that we're going to do is really get you tuned in on that future you. Like, what has she created? Who does she be? Like, what characteristics does she have? What has she already done? And then I'm going to teach you how to embody that one, that version of you, and bring her to you. So it shortens the timeline. And there's my dog on cue. Hello, Lola. That's why I do live TV. So I don't edit anything. I like it real and raw. So you get it all. You get the real me. And if you relate to me, great. If you don't, if you want perfection, you can just turn this off right now, because you're not going to get it here. You want authenticity. You want someone who rolls with life, who approaches things with a sense of humor. Stick around. I'm sure it'll get interesting. I have a dog, a cat, and 2 daughters that are teenagers. So let's see how it goes. I love the realness of, live TV. Is super fun. I've gotten pretty good at just rolling with things, unless my daughters are screaming, then I'm like a little tense, but one's leaving, so that'll be good. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I invite you to approach this with an open mind. Now, I study a ton about the subconscious mind. And one thing that the subconscious mind or the ego mind will do is start asking, okay, do I agree with that? And you start to run it through a filter. So I'm going to ask you to just suspend all of that. Now, of course, you're going to look at everything. You don't take everything I say as if it's gospel, because it's not. It's coming from me, an imperfect human. But I want you to say, well, what if this is true? What if what she's saying applies to me? Because one of the things the ego will do is filter out anything that is scary to its existence. And I'm going to challenge the heck out of the ego. I promise you. And hopefully you're going to learn how to do that for yourself. And when you do, it's going to start to get really fun for you. So let's stick around and play. I love it. So last weekend I went hiking with a friend of mine who does shamanic work. and she does readings. And I was talking to her about what I'm doing now. And she said the number one thing that people come to readings with her for is, what is my purpose? And they want her to tell them. And I'm like, well, what do you do? She's like, well, I don't tell them. It's not for me to say. It's for them to discover. I can ask them questions that lead them on that path. I'm like, that's really interesting, because I was that person many years ago. What am I here for? When deep down, I really knew I was just afraid. So if that's you, just laugh at yourself, have some fun with it, because what else are you going to do? Seriousness is of the ego, in case you didn't know. So when you catch yourself being really super serious and like, oh gosh, I got to figure this out, and gripping really tightly, just know that that's the ego, and it's got you only temporarily, because the ego is pretty smart, but it's not as smart as your spiritual self, your highest self. So always know that. So one thing else I want to say about your purpose, I mentioned it earlier, that just because you find your purpose and you're in alignment and feeling expansive and loving life doesn't mean that you're always going to be doing that. It doesn't always mean it's going to be a smooth ride. So there's this illustration. I wish I had it. So it's floating around on Reels on Instagram, and it's a ball at the top of a ramp, and it rolls down. And then they show a ball next to it on stairs, and the ball bounces. It goes up and down and up and down and up and down instead of a straight path. Guess which ball gets to the destination quicker? It's kind of surprising. It's the one with all the ups and downs. And that is so similar to our existence and our path forward, our evolution as human beings, our spiritual growth. And I want you to think of that. Every time you experience a dip, it doesn't mean you're off track. It just means there's a lesson there for you. It doesn't mean anything else. So if you can look at everything as, how is this happening for me? What is my lesson here? So if things don't work out as you hoped, you get to ask yourself that. I mean, yes, of course, feel the disappointment for a little while, and then say, okay, what's here for me to learn? And one thing I've learned over the course of my many years on this planet is to develop a neutral relationship with my results, because they don't mean anything about me as a person. Who I am as a person never changes. I am always innocent. I'm always created in the image of God, or whatever you want to call it. I'm always perfect. And I don't mean that in an egoic way. I mean it like I am as I was created. And when I step into my light and out of the darkness, and just like shine a light on any part of me, it is sheer perfection. And the same with you. Every single part of you is perfect. There's nothing wrong with you. Nothing. And I'm going to show you all that. I'm so excited. Okay. So one thing that I have overcome on my journey is addiction, depression, anxiety. I completely hated myself for a very long time. And, when I was in the depths of my addiction, I was a single mom, and I had 2 little kids, and I was doing lots of things that I was not proud of. And there came a moment where it was like that come to Jesus moment, where I just like caught a glance of myself in the mirror, and I just couldn't believe what I saw staring back at me. I couldn't believe what I'd become. And I just started screaming at myself. I will always remember this, like, who the F are you? Like, what are you doing to yourself? You got to stop. And I just like fell to my knees, and I was just sobbing. And I was in my bathroom. And I remember hearing a voice, get up, get up. This is not who you're meant to be. And it was in that moment that I decided that I would no longer be an addict. I just wouldn't, no matter what, no matter how uncomfortable it was, that I was meant for more. And I've had many instances since then where I now am able to tell myself, this is going to make a really good before story. And I invite you to look at it, like wherever you are right now. If it's really, really low, just think about like how how high you get to go and what is available to you. Like pretty much everything's available. When you're at the bottom, everything's a step up. And I just had one of those moments a couple of months ago, and I'm like, this is going to make a really good before story. And I'm not quite through it, but I'll share it when I am. So I like to look at things like that as soon as I can. And I had a conversation with somebody recently about, it was actually a client of mine, and she was comparing herself to other people. And I was saying that, comparison is the thief of joy. It is a big, big trick that the ego uses to help us, to make us feel separate from other people, from God, from spirit, and from ourselves, like from the versions of us that we're meant to be. So do your best to, like, when you catch yourself comparing, like, oh, I see what you're doing there. And I play with the ego all the time because, the ego's serious. I get to be playful because my spirit is playful. So talking about depression stems from resistance. Resistance is the opposite. If you've ever heard of the book, The War of Art, yeah, that's what it's called. It's all about resistance. It's Stephen Pressfield. And he talks about that. And it's really fear driven, of course, resistance. So if you're resistant to knowing your purpose, then you're going to have a hard time really stepping into it. But depression is something that can result from being in resistance or anything that obstructs your flow of awareness. So when you attempt to limit the unlimited, you may become depressed. And know that the mind that allows all things, trusts all things, and embraces all things is free. So when you get in a situation where you're like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is, and you're resisting even not knowing what it is, instead of stepping into what would it be like if I did know what it was? Because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask. When you ask outcome-oriented questions, you're going to get better answers. It creates this void in the universe that will be filled. And what comes in for you will be much better than, what do I do if I don't know my purpose? Or, if you ask questions like, I will never know, that's not even a question. If you ask things like, why? Why don't I know my purpose? That's a really good one. I'm really big on language too, so pay attention to your language. If you ask why about the past, it insinuates that you're doing something wrong. And for me, it creates this sense of like, I messed it up. I should know this, right? So the only time I ask why would be like, well, why is it important for me? Why do I want this? What's my why? Why do I want to serve people? Why do I want to help women wake up to why they are here? Well, because it's so freaking exciting when I see the light bulbs go on. And then when they start to do it and they start to say, oh my gosh, I did this thing and it was so scary. And I feel amazing now. I'm so proud of myself. I'm in love with my life. And I got a new client. That just lights me up. It's my selfish why is I feel like I made a difference for somebody and I matter. I now matter. And yes, my head knows that I matter all the time, but sometimes it feels so good to make a difference for other people, right? That's why we're all here. We're not here to live in a vacuum or a void. So I believe that the journey of discovering your sacred purpose requires a process in which you surrender your will or your need to know and your egoic mind, and you allow your intuition, God, universe, spirit, whatever you call it, to direct you. And there are lots of ways to do this. One of the ways that I have received the best guidance, now I'm pretty auditory, is through journaling. And what I've done and what I do on a regular basis is I'll do a mind dump. Let's like, bleh. So if you don't like writing, try recording it or speaking it. I like to record it. But I really find the mind dump through journaling very cathartic. It really creates an empty space because there's so much clutter in our minds. And that clutter in our minds creates dissonance in the body. And it's almost like a cloud around our auric field or our spiritual energetic field. And it affects our frequency, which is the rate at which we vibrate. And if you've studied anything like quantum physics or Abraham Hicks, you know that every emotion has a frequency, the rate at which it vibrates. And the higher frequency emotions like love and enlightenment, they vibrate really quickly. And the lower ones like depression, hopelessness, they're like so slow, so slow. So that's a side note. Anyway, so when you create that void, there's this spaciousness. And then I just ask my questions. Any question I want to know the answer to, I write it down. And you can write to whoever you want to, God, universe, source, spirit, whoever, and say, what am I meant for? What am I here for? And just listen. If you don't hear anything, just start writing. Just pretend you hear something. Maybe you see something. Maybe you have a knowing. Maybe it's not going to come in writing. Maybe you just like, oh, maybe you get like a picture, or you get this feeling in your body, this sense or this knowing. There are so many ways that we receive guidance. And most of us as children get that trained out of us. You go give Uncle Sam a hug. You're like, no, he's creepy, but you have to. Or you say you're sorry, right? But you're not sorry. So we train it out of our children many times. And we get to relearn that as adults. We get to bring back, like, what is your primary way of knowing? One other way is to use your body as a lie detector. So when you know something is meant for you, usually there's going to be some type of bodily sensation. So if someone asks you to do something and you might go flying backward, that's a no. If you're like, oh yeah, that sounds great, and you lean in, then it's a yes. Or if your body feels open and expansive, that's a yes. Whereas if you start to feel pain anywhere, or your body's like it contracts, Zoom probably filtered out that noise. It was a squeaking noise that symbolized contraction. That's a no. So start to listen to your body, because it's always giving you cues. And when you start to know like what your primary receptor is, as far as your intuition, you can ask for signs. Like, show me what my next best step is. Show me. Bring somebody into my life. And it could be anything. It could be you see a TV commercial, you see a billboard, you see a butterfly, you read something, somebody calls you, you see a Facebook or Instagram post. So just be open to not having to have it be a certain way. So you get to live in the unknown and let spirit bring it to you. That's part of the surrender part. It's like, if you're anything like me, like I try to control everything. Like, okay, I want this number of clients and I want them to come to me through this method. It's like, yeah, sure, Karen, I'll bring it right to you. I mean, you could say what you want and then leave the how to the universe, because it's going to come in a way that's going to surprise and delight you. That is my mantra. Like, bring it in a way that will surprise and delight me, because otherwise you're in the known and you're creating from the past, which is the subconscious mind or the ego. And we don't want to do that. So really start to develop this practice every single day. And we're going to do an exercise at the end that's going to get you even clearer on this. So just stick with me. But I would highly, highly recommend starting a daily practice where you just write, you journal, and then you just like ask your questions for source, God, spirit, and expect an answer, because you are not that special that you're the only one that doesn't get an answer. I'll tell you, the only time I did not get an answer when I would ask my questions is when I was afraid I wouldn't get one, or when I felt unworthy of receiving one because of my behavior. Like, I thought I had to earn this connection to God, and you don't have to earn it. It is always available. You just get to say yes to it. Say yes. And I wasn't going to include this, but it feels intuitively like it's a good place. So one of the things I did to increase my worthiness of God's love, Spirit's love, is a very quick meditation. And it's simply this: you close your eyes and set a timer for 5 minutes, just 5. And on the inhale, you say inside your head silently, I accept. And on the exhale, the love of God. And you can say the love of whoever you want, but try that for like 5 minutes a day. And what happened for me was I finally got it that no matter what I did or didn't do, God loved me. And if God loved me, it didn't matter what anybody else thought. And imagine being off the hook for needing other people's approval. The freedom, the peace, the self-love that created was massive. And it kind of catapulted me into whatever was next. And I still take it with me. And now I can do it in 3 breaths, usually, like, oh, I'm not feeling lovable, or I see I want some approval from somebody. I just drop in like, I accept the love of God. And then I'm like, oh yeah, oh, that's right. I'm lovable to God. Like, oh, that's right. The rest doesn't matter. All right. So let's move on to number 2. One of the things that really, really gets people centered and grounded around their purpose and not stepping into it now is when I ask them this question. And that is, how long have you pretended not to know what you're here for? How long have you pretended not to know? And that is a kind of a gut punch for a lot of people, because you already know. Like, there's a part of you that knows. You know what you're here for. So I invite you to just be gentle with that part and say, okay, I know what I'm here for, but what? I'm afraid. I'm afraid of being judged. I'm afraid of not succeeding. I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of succeeding. Whatever it is for you. And just get clear on that and say, it's okay. I got you. I got you. You don't have to do anything yet. You just get to acknowledge what you're here for. And then the next question is, what is it costing you not stepping into your purpose? What is it costing you? And it could be, like we talked about earlier, your relationships, your mental health, your happiness, your joy, your peace, your sense of contribution. And it could be all of those things. And it could also be abundance, because if you're running from your purpose, you may be in a job that you hate and you're not advancing. It could be anything. And then what is it costing the people around you for you to not step into your purpose? And that could be the people you're meant to serve. It could be your family. For me, it was my daughters. Like, as long as I wasn't living my purpose, I was showing them what it looked like to settle and what lack looked like, because I wasn't making money. So I was not happy in that area, which affected all these other things. And I taught them to settle. And it was a lot of reteaching and undoing to counteract that. And then also think about, you are meant to serve certain people and they are suffering right now. So think about that, like, get in touch with what it's costing you and other people. And then what will it continue to cost you if you don't step into your purpose now? And take some time, pause this if you need to, and really journal, get clear on that. Don't move on until you're really clear on it, because those are really, really important. All right. The third thing is, I want to do an exercise with you. And I love this exercise. I do it every single day. I mean, you only do this part once that we're going to do, but then you're going to read it every single day if you want to. You don't have to do anything. So here's what I would love for you to do. We're going to start by saying it is December 31st, 2024, and this has been the best year of my life. It is December 31st, 2024, and this has been the best year of my life. And then you're going to write what amazing things you created. What would have had to have happened for this to be the best year of your entire life? And you're going to write it in 6 to 8 or 10 complete sentences. And they're going to be in the past tense or in the present tense, not I will or I'm going to. And I really invite you to tap into what you're going to feel and go all out. I mean, like, I do this now and I am crying. There's one of mine, well, a couple that I am just crying and I'm like falling down because I feel it. It's in every cell of my body. Now, when you first write this, it's probably going to seem like a pipe dream or a fabrication. And I'm going to invite you to do it anyway and read it out loud and notice what you notice. And then pause this. So go ahead and write those down. Like, what would make this year the best year of your entire life? What would have you saying, holy crap, I cannot believe this year. Like, I cannot believe what I created. And maybe it's you made a certain amount of money. Maybe you spoke on stages. Maybe you influenced a certain number of people. Maybe you met the love of your life. Maybe you got in the best shape of your life. Maybe you healed your body from some disease. What would make this the best year of your life? If you had no limits, like magic wand, what would make this the best year of your life? If you had access to every single resource, if you had 10 times the confidence, if you had God's power within you, which means you could do anything you wanted. You could heal your body. You could be taller. I'm going to try that one. Crack myself up. Whatever it is, whatever you can dream is meant for you. It's meant for you. And you have all the resources within when you collaborate with spirit to create it in the 3D. So you're going to write it from the perspective like it is done. It's already done. And I would love for you to include, how do you feel about this? Like mine says, I am freaking blown away and I am so proud of myself. You know, like, it's not anybody else's job to be proud of you. It's your job. It's your job to be your cheerleader. It's your job to be your ass kicker. It's your job to be proud of yourself. So, and the rest we're going to do in a second. So pause this and do it. All right. I hope you paused and did the exercise. Otherwise, why are you here? Like, you're not going to get anything out of it. So please do the exercise. Pretty please. All right, so the next part is to read each sentence out loud and just notice how it feels in your body. So pause this, read each sentence out loud, and notice how it feels in your body. All right, so you did that part. Now, here's what I want you to do. Here's the fun part. The breath is so intelligent. You're going to use the breath. And you're going to breathe slow into your belly as if you could expand it out. So read your first sentence. It is December 31st, 2024, and I've had the best year of my life. Then close your eyes and breathe slowly and deeply into your belly. Then open your eyes and read the next sentence. Close your eyes and breathe slowly as you can and as deeply. Perhaps put one hand on your chest and one on your belly to make sure that it's going into the right place, because you want your belly to expand and you want your chest to kind of stay where it is. So you can't see my belly, but my chest doesn't move that much. So, but I can feel my hand moving out on the belly. So breathe the entire thing, inserting the belly breath after each one. And pause. All right, welcome back. So now notice how you feel. How do you feel this time when you read it? Does it feel any different? Now, for me, what happened was it went from being like, oh yeah, this is just like last year. I wrote it down. I'm never going to look at it. It's impossible for me. And I wrote some big stuff on mine, like big stuff where, like I said, like I'm falling down crying when I read it now. And I do it every single day and I breathe it into my body. So when you add the breath to it, it expands it and it gets into the cells of your body. You actually embody it. You embody that version of you. And I'm going to give you two more things to do with this. Imagine maybe you don't want to be a speaker, but maybe you do. And you have the opportunity to speak. What's your walk on stage? What or song? When you go on that stage, what song lights you up and you're like, yeah, what song really fires you up? And it doesn't have to be that, but any song that motivates you, that gets you excited, that makes you happy, that makes you feel the way that you're going to feel when you accomplish all those things and you're looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, this really happened. So here's an added thing. When you add in more senses, it becomes more visceral. It gets into all of your body. So from this point forward, I invite you to every single day, listen to your song and then read your sentence, close your eyes. The song's playing in the background the whole time. Close your eyes, do your belly breath. Open your eyes, read your next sentence. Close your eyes, do the belly breath. And when you do that over time, this becomes like part of who you are. And you can do it at the end of every day or at the beginning of every day. You could say it's whatever date it is and it's 5 p.m. and this has been such a fabulous day. I can't believe what I created. And then you can say, what would make this a successful day? You can create every single day that week or month. I recommend, you do all of them. What would make it a successful month? Okay, chunk it down. What would make it a successful week? Great. So how do I get to that week? What do I get to do today? And when you do all of those things, you are going to create so much more than you would have if you didn't. And from this place of knowing and ease and fun. And who doesn't want that? So I really hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you did all of the exercises, and I would love to hear what you got out of them. I believe my email is linked below, but it's Karen@KarenSeltz, my name, .com. So write me and let me know what you experienced. I would love that. And I also have a free gift for you. So if you are someone that watched this till the end, there's probably something in there for you. And if you are one of those women that knows you're meant for more, you know that there's this purpose and you want a little support, you want some guidance, you want somebody to say, yes, I see that is possible for you. And what's gotten in the way in the past and what's likely to sabotage you in the future, and to create a plan to step by step to get you there. I'm offering a free 45-minute divine guidance call with me. And on that call, we're going to get really clear on what it is that you're here to do in this lifetime. We're going to become aware, and I'm going to tell you what to do with that. We're going to tell the subconscious mind what to watch out for, like what sabotaged you in the past. And then we're also going to teach your subconscious mind what to look for that will set you up for success. So if you want one of those, click the link, and I would love, love, love to support you. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to see you embody your purpose.